Good evening. Welcome to the East Bridgewater Joint Meeting with the Finance and Capital Committee for October 15th, 2025. Tonight, we're going to review the warrant for the November 10th and the October 27th special town meetings. First, I'd like to switch things a little bit here because it's a joint Finance and Capital Committee, and I'd like to get the capital stuff on the table first, well, before we go into the rest. And first tonight, follow up from our last meeting 2 weeks ago, we have Gina Williams here, the superintendent, and some of the building committee folks here, and we're gonna review the school building project. There are some more financial numbers, I believe, that we have available tonight, which is what we talked about at the last meeting. We also forwarded information to everybody about the process that you had, I hope you had an opportunity to review, plus you have a handout packet here. So this will be the night for the questions and our vote. So I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Williams, whatever it is. And
I'm married this evening.
To take us through a little bit, I'd like to make sure we understand the process that was in place, that we understand some of the decisions that have been made. My experience in the past in the town is people ask a lot of questions, well, why'd you do this or why'd you do that? Or didn't you look at this and didn't you look at that? I think there was an exhaustive process in place that looked at all our opportunities to review financial needs, educational needs, placement of the building, environmental needs were definitely considered. Energy efficiency was a big topic. We talked about many nights, which we made us eligible for some extra grants, et cetera, and funding from Massachusetts. So I'd like to maybe take us through the process, and as we cover like each one of those, I'll call them sub-areas, throw out any questions we may have, and make sure we're able to articulate this project when we're asked. And it's very important that it's very truthful and very transparent, because I myself, as being part of the building committee, can say it's been totally transparent, it's been very truthful, there hasn't been any golden eggs thrown out there or any false statements made about it. It's been all based in reality. So if you want to start taking us through it, we'll go through it. We'll slow you down if we need to.
Sure.
Great. Just before I have Matt, Matt is one of our owners project managers from left field. Just to kind of capitalize on what Dave has shared with you, I know this is new information for people within the community and maybe for yourselves, but the committee has been in existence for about a year and a half now. A very well-rounded committee. A lot of the members who are here this evening representing lots of different areas, from staff that work within the school building, administrators, DPW is represented, facilities, town hall, town accountant, town administrator, finance people with backgrounds in construction, community members, parents. So certainly we were taking in well-rounded considerations from lots of stakeholders, and as Dave said, lots of difficult conversations, lots of long meetings that took place, making sure that we're looking at all perspectives and all views and all considerations when making our decisions. So I'll turn it over to Matt to go through the presentation.
Thank you very much. Like Gina said, I'm Matt Galino with Left Field, one of the project managers for your owner's project manager. And yeah, we'll take you through this presentation. Again, feel free to stop us and ask questions along the way. Just a quick highlight of discussion topics. Like David said, we're going to take a look at the decision-making process, how we reached the site that we did. We'll touch a little bit on renovation versus renovation and ad rental versus a new construction option. These were very thoroughly vetted through this entire process, so we'll show you kind of how that decision was made, and then we'll highlight some of the big decision options that were reviewed, from heating systems, the style of roof, the overall size of the school, etc. So just to touch on schedule real quick, like Gina said, we've been in this process for about a year and a half now. back in May of 2024 is when Left Field was brought on board. Shortly after that, we brought the designer on board, which is Raymond Design, and Gene is here with us tonight as well, and he'll be helping with the presentation shortly as well. And then after the designer, from the end of 2024 to present, we've been going through the feasibility study, which is through the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or MSBA. They are participating in contributing tens of millions of dollars to this project. So they have a very, very prescriptive process that we have to follow. In this feasibility process that we've been going through is that kind of first stage. I won't focus on kind of the back end of the schedule here. I will point out the critical town approvals that are coming up. Town meeting on November 10th, followed by a town ballot on November 15th. If the project does pass, we would proceed into the next phase of design. There's about 10 months to a year worth of design left. At that time, that's when we'll really kind of get into the details, start picking colors, start picking types of materials, really get into the design of it. With the hopes of construction starting in early 2027. Roughly a 19-month construction schedule is what we're looking at, with the new build being completed and occupied for the start of the 2028-2029 school year.
Just a question. We have the town meeting and we have a town vote. We're slotted for this money now. We've been approved for the project.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if it doesn't pass? Do we just keep our spot and try again next year?
No, unfortunately, you would have to go back through the MSBA process again. You kind of get back in line, so to say. The MSBA accepts schools on an as-needed basis. They look at hundreds of districts throughout the Commonwealth, and they determine which schools are the most in need. So the MSBA would have to review the school again. There is a good chance that you would get back into the process, but you would have to essentially start back in feasibility and kind of work your way through the process again. I believe there is a bit of expedited process having been through it before, but it's not like we can get right back into the process and then get right into construction again. So there would be a delay. We always kind of say the best time to build is now, because construction pricing has gone up drastically, especially since COVID. But there's a great graph on the MSBA's website that shows the cost of construction starting in early 2000s all the way through present, and it's a very steady increase. Even in 2008, it slowed down a little bit, but it still increased. So it's just something that we see constantly in the market, but it is something that we do factor into kind of into this process as time. Time is expensive, so that's definitely one of the factors that we look at.
I think also MSBA wants a community to partner with that they know is serious about the project. They're not gonna put the time and effort and funds into communities that are not supportive. So I feel, just with the conversations we've had with MSBA, that if we don't approve this, we'll be waiting years.
All right. We did want to touch quickly just on the existing conditions of the school. We know everybody doesn't have the opportunity to go through the school and kind of see it. When you drive by, it looks pretty good from the outside. It has a nice kind of feel to it. Brick building matches a lot of what's in town. But as you get into the building, you really start to see all of the major issues. Starting on the exterior, just weather damage throughout. A lot of these windows that are original, the sanitary facilities, bathrooms are outdated. Most of them are not ADA compliant. That really kind of goes for the majority of the building. It is not ADA compliant, which is one of the major issues and challenges that the school currently faces with getting either handicapped or injured individuals around the school. down in the bottom right corner is the modular trailers that were installed back in 2005, 2006 timeframe. They were initially going to be kind of a temporary solution, but here we are almost 20 years later, and they're still a part of the active facility. The project website, which is centralesproject.com. We also have, this has 3 mini videos, but there's actually 11 up there now of walkthroughs with Gina and Brian Keeley, the maintenance director. So they kind of walk through the school. Kate Byron, the principal, is in these as well, and just really kind of gives you a tour and points out the deficiencies in the building. And it's a good way to kind of see and understand what the students and staff kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis. I'll get into some of the site selection and
Yeah.
Gene, do you want
Want
to?
me to come up?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as Matt said, you're driving by, it's kind of a handsome building and it looks nice. I think some of those pictures you saw when you actually go up to the building, you start seeing rotted windows, you start seeing various things that are not really good on a long-term basis for a municipal building. This slide here, which I think, was issued last Friday, we did look, the MSBA process, they want all these cities and towns, they want you to understand, yes, a new building or a big addition project is gonna, involve some serious money, but if you don't do that, you're gonna spend a lot of money as it is. So, we went room by room, inch by inch around the perimeter of the building. We identified all the things that would have to happen to bring this building up to kind of a long-term lifespan. All the systems, all the building envelope, et cetera, et cetera. And we did come up with a number, which is, it's gonna be a very difficult project because the building, there's nowhere for the kids to go. All the work will have to happen, vacations, probably summer vacations. And so there's a lot of escalation. We came up with a figure from professional cost estimators of $60 million just to bring the building up to like a decent level like this building we're sitting in tonight. So HVAC system, windows, plumbing systems, elevator, accessibility, removing hazardous materials, because anything you touch is going to involve, a lot of it's going to involve asbestos abatement, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, that was a big chunk of money, and it really doesn't address making the classrooms that are all undersized bigger. It doesn't address making the gym, the size it should be. It doesn't touch the educational program. So anyway, if anyone has any questions about the repair scope, we can certainly come
So,
back to
and
them.
there's no reimbursement for that. That would be
There's-
our portion we'd have to pay.
That is true, yeah.
And one of the questions I have is, it's got tossed around a lot and talked a lot, is the educational programming. So when you looked at the building, and we talked about the new building, the educational programming was taken into consideration and talked about a lot, which is how we got from like point A to where our recommendation is. What do we really need for programming?
That's
So,
correct.
for myself, and hopefully others, is, can somebody define educational programming?
Yeah.
Like, what can't be done in this building that now can be done in the other?
Yeah. Well, we went through, at the beginning of that feasibility process, we went through with the administrators, the school staff, the building committee. We did a series of tours, was one thing we did, of other communities that have gone through the MSBA process. And to be honest, it's a real eye-opener a lot of times for people, because you're going into schools that have large gymnasiums, fresh air, large classrooms with video screens and other teaching surfaces. The schools that is proposed, but it's also like typical these days, is not like when you and I went to went to school where we
So
sit.
that's for all you old folks.
I got the gray hair too, though. But we used to go in and sit, excuse me, have a, absorb information, take a test, and spit it back out. Now, and Gina can talk to this probably much better than I can, but the schools now, a lot of it is project-based learning. There's a lot of, not catering, but addressing the different ways that kids learn. So there's a lot of support services, and there need to be places for those to happen. And the cost of these buildings is really expensive. So what's happening is we're building classrooms, yes. We're building corridors, yes. But a lot of times, we're just building a little extra square footage in the corridors, which we're proposing here, making them wider, so those corridors can actually be teaching space. So we're using pretty much every square foot that you're spending a lot of money to build, as part of the educational delivery. And Gene, I don't know if there's any like broad.
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious is, if you walk through Central School, a lot of the educational spaces are non-traditional spaces. They've used closet space now that have been converted into therapy spaces for our counselors, our speech pathologists, our occupational therapists. Hallways have tables in them so that small groups can meet outside in the hallway as opposed to having those opportunities in the classroom. So when we met with the teachers, a lot of the things, or most all of the things that teachers are doing, they will do in this new school. We're not building a school to start creating new and different things. These are all the things, the teaching strategies that teachers are using them right now in the classroom. However, they're using them with lots of challenges. Confined spaces, the technology, Mrs. Shea oversees our IT department, and trying to get updated technology to work in these classrooms. The fire hazards probably that are being caused with the amount of wires and connectors that are being put in and makeshift to have these programs working for students. So the extended learning opportunities for classes to come together, as Jean had said, the classroom spaces are undersized, so it's very difficult for multiple classes to come together. Oftentimes, we're utilizing the cafeteria to get larger spaces for students to work together, whereas in this new building, we have extended learning areas so that multiple classes can come together. Students can have presentations where family members can come and see those presentations in spaces that those should happen in. So even in our cafeteria right now, a lot of students that are coming to school have some sensitivity issues to large crowds, having opportunities for smaller spaces for students to have lunch or to work on their social skills during lunch so that they're learning the skills that they need to socialize with their peers. Just allowing, like I said, for all of those teaching and learning opportunities to happen in spaces where they're meant to happen, as opposed to us trying to retrofit and convert closet space, hallway space into making these possible.
So maybe, your question was what's educational programming, and maybe at 30,000 feet, it's making a list, knowing your delivery, what you want to deliver, a list of the spaces you need. And I'll say that you'll see a slide at some point that shows how the building started out at a very big, larger size, and because it had everything that anyone could possibly think of. And then the building committee spent a lot of time asking everybody involved, including ourselves, to really hone it in, make spaces flexible, multi-use, et cetera, and we ended up making the building smaller, because it impacts money, but it still is delivering, and it's really customized to the educational program. It's going to be a wonderful school. Matt put this slide up, which was in your packet, and what it does is it just talks about in all these columns the existing square footage that Central has in the left column, which is about 67,000 square feet. Now, the MSBA, the funding agency from the state, you know, they have, it's not precise because it's not based on everyone's particular educational program, but they have an algorithm and, you know, for the number of pupils and the grade levels, you know, their guidelines spit out, oh, all right, well, you might end up with somewhere around 118,000 square feet. So that's a pretty big, it's a 51,000 square foot, you know, almost half, you know, half again as big as what you have. So we ended up, you know, tracking higher, but at the end of the process, refine, we ended up at 108,000 square feet. So we're still 40,000 square feet larger than the existing. It has all the educational features, but it's still less than what the state would have considered funding. And I think that just is a testament to all the work that the committee did and the administration, so.
Just a quick question on this particular slide, please.
Sorry.
That's okay. Column 4, where it's the new central school square footage. The top line item is 24,300,
Yes.
which is less than the MSBA guideline.
Yes.
But if you take a look at the third line item down, which is the special education, it's 13,570,
Yep.
which is more than double the MSBA guideline.
Correct.
Could you just walk us through why we would be less on the majority of the K through 2 classes and double on the special ed?
Yep, I'll start in on some of the work that was done, and Gina can speak to the special education. What I will say is, all the schools we work on with MSBA, they always have more special education space than the MSBA algorithm. And I can't really speak to why MSBA ends up where they do. But at one point, for the K-2 classrooms and pre-K, we ended up saying, okay, we need 8 classrooms per grade. And then on top of that, we need a special education classroom for each grade level also. And what the committee did is say, can't we get away with 7 classrooms per grade? And yes, there might be 1 or 2 more students in each classroom. But can you take that special education classroom and outfit it exactly like a regular classroom? So if you have like an enrollment bump one year where you need 8 second grades instead of the typical 7, you can use that special education room as the 8th classroom. So
Is it just one of the special education classrooms, or are there multiple, or all of them?
each of the K, the 1 and 2, we went from 8 classrooms down to 7, and we made, then we kept that special education room.
Okay,
Does
so
that make sense?
it does,
Yeah.
and I think because you touched upon it being flexible earlier on, and I think the town needs that flexibility, given the fact that there are some other things happening in the community where we might have an influx of student population.
Yep.
So we need to make sure that we're accounting for those things, and I'm hoping that's why we have a flexible floor plan. And if we need to flex from that special education square footage into
Yes.
the K through 2 classrooms, we have that ability to do
Yeah.
so.
Gina, did you have anything to add to that? or
No,
did I- like-
so the way that the building is designed is every grade level has a neighborhood. We wanted to make sure that our students with special education needs had opportunities to be in that same neighborhood. So ideally, that's how we're setting up the school. But to Jean's point, if enrollment bursts, then we have additional classrooms in each neighborhood for us to convert into a general education classroom.
Great.
I thought that was a reason, I just thought that was a really good move, to be honest, because it reduced the square footage and cost, but it really didn't impact the educational delivery.
And still afforded us to get the maximum amount from MSBA.
Yeah, you're definitely, anything that's, any of those things, except we have like 1,000 square feet we added to the gymnasium, so the community could have bleachers, parents could have bleachers to watch, rec games or school games. That is not reimbursable, but, most, I'm gonna say 98% of the square footage is all reimbursable.
Thank you.
Yep. I don't know if anyone had, I can keep rolling through, and I don't know if I'm going into too much depth. But, do you want me to
Yeah,
just keep
just,
going
let's
through
make
what
sure we
looked
just
at?
touch base on these, and they can ask questions. I mean, we
Yeah,
can go
all
through it
right.
a little quicker, because we did some of it last week.
We looked really, really hard during the feasibility study at an addition renovation. Just because we know everyone we talked to had gone, a lot of people had gone through the school, and the school obviously, does have a presence. So the problem with this is that yes, we could do it, but the way the educational program is driving the design, as Gina mentioned, it's set up in classroom neighborhoods. So the majority of the floor plan is devoted to these classroom neighborhoods. And then there's a gym, and there's a library, and, some other, small group spaces, things like that. We pretty much needed to build a big addition to make the classroom neighborhood concept work. Then we took the gym, which is another big component, and we actually took the back off of Central, and we slid half the gym into the back of Central. And the reason we did that is because Central has 67,000 square feet. And if we're gonna renovate all that, plus build this big addition, the thing would have been gigantic and therefore very, very expensive. But even by sliding the gym into the back of the building and using up some of that 67,000 square feet, we still had 3 floors on the front of the building and 3 floors on each end. And we ended up with more square footage than the addition. We also ended up with a longer construction period, because the time to build the addition is the same time as it would be to build a new school. And then you move some kids into the addition, and then you got another year of renovation. So as Matt had said, time is money. There was more square footage, more time, more crazy logistics making it happen, and this ended up being, I was really attracted to the idea, but it ended up being very expensive, and then kind of impractical, just with the disruption to the educational program. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. So the next slide, we looked at 3 different we looked at a whole bunch of new build options. We looked at a couple that just didn't even work. One was at Strongfield, which is a teeny site. There just wasn't enough room to fit the building without going 3 or 4 stories, and then get the parking, and then the traffic circulation in that neighborhood would be very disruptive. We looked at building on the baseball field right outside the town hall here. And again, that's a pretty small site, and we could fit like a building that would kind of step down the hillside, but the building would take the whole site between the high school and, Central Street out here. And the staff would have been parking remotely, and it would have been a three-level school. So that's really impractical with little kids going up and down the stairs. It also would have messed up the circulation at the town hall, as far as vehicle circulation and parking. So in the end, it came down to two new build options. One was Leland Farm, and then one was where we're proposing it on the softball fields out behind Central. Leland Farm, it's a bucolic, lovely site, but it's got a lot of site permitting, wetlands, riverfronts, a lot of restrictions. It also is nowhere near the town's existing sewage treatment plant, so it would have needed its own treatment plant, or we would have had to pump, sewage all the way from there up to the plant out by the high school. We would have had to raise the grade because of groundwater issues, et cetera, et cetera. So for a lot of reasons, which all translated into money, Leland Farm was much more expensive than building where we're proposing it right now. The softball field,
How much were the turtle bridges?
We don't know, but we do know, like, we couldn't even put a guess on how long it would have taken to go through the permitting process.
That's my point,
You know.
is the permitting process on the conservation side, what we have there, would have been extensive and extended the program also. And just the sewerage problem itself, you know, was a difficult challenge. So,
So again, you know, it comes to time, right? Like if we had to spend an extra year in permitting, then, you know, things are escalating 5 or 6%. The softball field option, which is what, you know, I'm calling it, is, so we're building on top of the two softball fields along Route 18. You know, so the downside on that was, oh, what are we gonna do with the softball fields, you know? And at one point, the district was talking about busing the teams to other programs. But this option became better and better the more we looked at it, because A, we could build the building far away from the elementary school. So, you know, all the commotion and everything that's going on was not gonna interrupt either the drop-off pickup, the recess, or, you know, cause a lot of noise for the teaching environment. That was good. And then when we looked at the softball field, we thought, oh, all right, well, if we take Central Elementary down after you build the new school, you know, we can replace it up, you know, where Central is right now. And when we got into it, we spent a lot of time with John and the athletic director and the high school principal, and we kind of put together a program for the athletic program. And then our landscape architect came back saying, we can fit both softball fields, and then have, instead of just a practice field, like a multi-purpose softball, lacrosse field. All, you know, we'd be taking down the yellow house that's between here and Central, but we could fit everything in and kind of put a retaining wall, so it'd be down at the level of the existing softball fields, and really improve the high school athletic program at the same time.
okay, so just, want to make sure I understand what you've said here. You've made a couple of comments that, you know, I've heard, what do we need turf fields for elementary school? What do we need this, what do we need that? But the word communities come up a few times.
Yeah.
So my guess, and from what I'm put together, is that this is not just an elementary school. This is a community asset that we're building here, because the fields will be able to be used by many.
Yes.
From multiple sports.
Yep.
I'm gonna guess when you said the gym and rec leagues and stuff, that the gym could be used at the same time.
It fits a high school size
Right.
basketball court plus bleachers, and we're not overdoing it. High school size basketball is the MSBA standard for an elementary.
But these are
but-
things that are all available to the community.
Yep.
It's not just because people say, oh, what do we need turf fields for kindergartners for? Well, it's not just for kindergartners, it's for the community. And it's to replace what we already have with something better that can really help us actually stretch out, I would think it would stretch out the life of the turf field that we have. It would stretch out the life and the issues, you know, maybe the middle school gymnasium. I know every year there's always activity down there, maybe something can happen here, whatever, but it is more community-based, and there are attributes of this project that will benefit all. So,
That is absolutely true. There's a video we've put together that shows the whole campus, and I don't know if it's on the website yet or not, but when you do get a chance to look at it, it'll show you like a bird's eye view of, you know, the school, the existing high school, and this turf field, which the high school will use. But it'll give you, it was another one of the attributes that made this location better than Leland Farm. You know, it's really kind of a campus, a municipal campus. And the high school not only will use the turf field, I feel like I'm selling it, but I'm just trying to give you like the information because it's exciting to me. One of the issues we heard was like when there's a big event at the high school, there's, people are parking all over the place, and it's really hard to accommodate everybody. So we set the school up so that parking for the new elementary school is adjacent to the high school driveway, and, you know, can be, you know, when the elementary school is not in use, can be overflow parking. So it's kind of just another, I don't know, win-win, if you want to say it that way.
So there's been so a lot of work's been done on determining the site, whether we should add reno, build, or whatever. I'd like to just touch on two things here. Some of the discussion on some of the costly and long-term things like the HVAC system. How that was a debate for about 10 meetings.
Yep.
And there was a lot of discussion. We looked at, you know, long-term cost, et cetera. Looked at geothermal, looked at all electric. And what the committee came up with from our last presentation is that it's a dual source system. So that helps eliminate risk in difficult times. I know that at one point, we had a situation here in town many years ago. I forget which one it was, propane or oil went through the roof, so they were able to switch over. It happened to me at the hospital before, et cetera, and not getting tied into just one type of system. So, John, I think Brian Kiley was a very strong advocate of that, and he does run the plants.
Absolutely. Have that alternative, again, looking at, I've said on multiple building projects throughout my years every time, and I don't know that there was a single issue that's been vetted and discussed to the extent of looking at that from the heating, the HVAC system, from that long-term, both from the environmental, economics, and operational side of, you know, looking out 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, 50 years, the lifespan of the equipment. Kelvin, I think we brought in the HVAC technical experts 3 different times to answer questions and deliberate this. And again, to have that alternative, the options, we felt at the end of the committee, at the end of it, I think we voted, you know, the 19, I think it was almost unanimous of the members present, that this was the direction to go. And I was part of that situation years ago when we converted from oil to natural gas, because we had that built-in alternative, and it, you know, obviously presented significant options, but we're looking at, you know, to have the ability to utilize natural gas, or, you know, move the load over to electricity, depending on the economic environment, really, because that's what we've acknowledged some of the things too that don't always get acknowledged in building projects, is the future maintenance costs and the, you know, maintaining these buildings. And, you know, I really am, you know, as Gene has mentioned, David, you've mentioned, very impressed with the amount of time and energy that's been spent with looking at this opportunity and the forethought that's gone into it.
Everything pretty much, a lot has been explored. Can we just get to the site plan and then the project budget progression so folks can see?
So I think we had showed this to you a couple weeks ago, but Route 18 runs from left to right on the top of the page where it says Central Elementary School Site Plan. And where the multi-sport turf field is that we've talked about with the 2 softball diamonds, that is where the existing Central Elementary School is right now. The high school is over on the far left, and you can see the existing high school drive that's there. That's going to remain in place. And what we did is we squeezed, it actually fit well, but doesn't mean it wasn't a lot of work getting it here. We got the building in between Route 18 and the back of Central and the edge of the high school drive. We have those neighborhoods, you know, on the ends of the building, the pre-K, kindergarten, and grades 1 and 2 are on the second floor. And then you get that core facility in the middle with a gymnasium, a cafeteria, service, you know, which is, you know, the boiler room and receiving, et cetera, et cetera. There's playgrounds all around the perimeter there, you know, those purple areas, and there's some asphalt and some grass. And then we have parking all over the perimeter of the building. Where he's showing right now is the overflow parking for the high school, but there's even more kind of where he is right now. The front door is right there, and the parents will still come in off Central Street. They'll come down the hill and around the corner. Plenty of space for all the cars to line up and drop off or pick up their children at the front door. The buses could come in from Plymouth Street or Route 18, but we have a separate bus drop-off and pickup lane across the back, and that would be separated from Route 18 with a very nice brick pilaster with iron fence, which will look really handsome from Route 18. But anyway, there's plenty of room for the buses to line up, and they'll exit back onto Route 18. And that sports field is down at the level of the high school and the new Central Elementary School. So, you know, the athletes from the junior, senior high school will just simply walk kind of across on sidewalks and, you know, have the sports field right there. So, I don't know, does that make sense, or is there anything I could help touch on?
I'm familiar with it, just from that picture, we don't notice and see. I'm glad you brought it up. Classrooms for first and second grade are on the second floor. And there's elevator access, et cetera, all handicap accessible, right?
Yep. The gymnasium, like where the front door is, maybe, Matt, you could just put the cursor where the front door is, yeah. So when you go in there, there's an entrance lobby like any school, and, but there are doors so that on a weekend or an evening, people can go in the front door, and they can get to the cafeteria or the gym, and there's bathrooms, but they can't go any further into the school. So that's where, you know, that becomes kind of a community amenity, and it's set up that way purposely.
So if we can go over the budget progression, and then Melanie, do you have something to talk with us about as far as what the tax implications could possibly be?
Yeah, we have a slide.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so I'll touch quickly here on the kind of the project budget progression. Starting over on the left in the blue area, you'll see it's labeled PDP. That is the first kind of the first process that we go through with the MSBA. It's the preliminary design program is what it stands for. And it's essentially the fact-finding phase of the project. It's when we look at all the different sites, look at the different options, and we are tasked with putting an estimate together for those options. So you can see the comparison of what an ad reno was anticipated to cost versus a new at this point, which was back in December of 2024. So ad reno was sitting around 152 million, and new build was up around 148. MSBA reimbursement for these two projects was 60 for the ad reno and 58 for a new build, leaving the district share for these two options at 92 million for an ad reno and 90 for a new build. It was during this time where we're realizing how high the cost was, and this is the part of the project where we really tightened up the design, reduce square footage by almost 20,000 square feet, really to try and make this as efficient of a building as possible. So when we got into the next phase of the project, which is PSR, or Preferred Schematic Report, you're kind of narrowing down your options at this point and only looking at a few of them and picking which one is your preferred option. Again, when we go through another round of estimating at this phase as well, And you can see the differences, again, with ad reno did come down a little bit to 150, but the new build came down from 148 down to 134. And this is kind of what Gene was touching on when, with the difficulty of ad renos or renovation of the building, you're stuck in the confines of the existing structure. It requires more building around it. It's usually takes multiple phases, which takes longer. So there's just a lot less efficiencies that can be capitalized in an addition renovation. So there just wasn't as much opportunity to shrink the size of the building as much as we could in a brand new facility. Those updated estimates broke out for MSBA reimbursement right around the same for that ad reno at 59 million. The new did come down to 51, but that is because we reduced the size of the school so much. And MSBA reimburses based on the square footage of the building. And then the district shares for the ad reno were at 91, and the new came down to 83. After the preferred schematic report, the MSBA approves your preferred option, which for us was the new build on the softball field, which you then proceed to study further in schematic design, which is the phase that we're currently in, or really just kind of ended at the end of August. But it gave us the opportunity to really look at this new build even further, reduce the size a little bit more. We also were able to kind of like we talked about with the HVAC systems, pick a highly efficient system, but also an economically responsible one, and that resulted in further reduction of the estimate down to 125 million. The MSBA reimbursement actually increased slightly, and this is largely because of some of the spaces that they were considering ineligible initially, but have since agreed that they are eligible for reimbursement. So we gained some additional funding from the state, which was great. So right now we're anticipating around 52.5 million from the state, which leaves a district share of around 72.6. So pretty big significant budget difference between PDP and SD, and I think it really just highlights the effort that the committee and the project team have put in, really trying to get this thing to be the right school for the community.
All right, well, we've gotten to the point of 72.6, so why don't we start discussing that number, Melanie?
Kind of just backtrack a little, because there's two steps of the vote that then get us to discussing these numbers, is on November 10th is the town meeting vote, and that authorizes a 2/3 vote at town meeting, authorizes the town to borrow the money to build the school. Then on November 15th, it goes to the ballot for the town to vote to authorize a debt exclusion for the school. What the debt exclusion allows us to do is to raise the annual debt payment for the school above our levy limit. So we have what the normal base of taxes on the town residents are, and then the vote allows us to increase it by strictly the debt payment for the central school.
So that's like taking a mortgage out.
It's like taking a
Right.
mortgage out.
So this vote has nothing to do with the existing tax base for operational expenses, et cetera, things like that. This is strictly, I'm gonna call it, for easier terms, a mortgage to build a school.
That works. So what we've
But
done.
we're not as sophisticated as you.
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that that works. So the increase in taxes that we're talking about, like Dave is saying is strictly to pay for the school. It doesn't bleed into the operating budget in any way. It's strictly for the school. So what we've done is we've looked at the 72.6 number because that's the district share. And we've looked at it over, just like a mortgage, you can get different terms. So we've looked at it at 25 years and at 30 years. 30 years, like a mortgage, it has a higher interest rate, but it would result in a lower annual payment, making the annual payment on an average single-family residence in East Bridgewater $840 a year, or $210 a quarter. If we were to go for 25 years, you're gonna see a lower rate. Right now, we're assuming 4%. This is based on the conversations with our debt advisors. We'd see an annual tax impact for an average single-family residence of about $898 or $225 a quarter. So we wanted to be able to present that range because we don't know what the borrowing conditions will be when we go to borrow to get the actual bond. If conditions stay how they are now, it would be great if they got better, then it would be nice to use the 25-year rate because that would save the town overall, I think it's close to $6 million in interest, which is obviously a significant savings. But we want to present a range to be conservative since we don't know what the market will be when we go for the bonds.
So, I wanna are you prepared to touch on this component here, the 420? Okay.
And one thing we wanted to highlight, because it is a significant point, is that the high school, the major piece of the debt that we took on when we built the new high school, is paid off in fiscal 2031. So that right now is costing the average single-family home about $420 a year. So come fiscal 2032, that piece of the debt exclusion falls off, and it's, like we said, it's not part of the operating budget, so we can't just reabsorb it for salaries or general expenses. That's gone, and it's reduced in the tax levy. So it is good timing that there would probably only be maybe 3 years that you'd see the full effect of the central school prior to the high school being paid off.
Mel, just continuing kind of on the lines of the analogy of a mortgage, with this type of a bonding, would the town be drawing the entire amount and paying interest on that from day one? Or is it more like a home equity loan where it kind of?
Yeah, more like a home equity loan where we've got the
You've
analysis.
you've got
We
the
have the
approval to do it, but
information,
you're.
right, and it was too much to present at one time, but they've done an analysis with us of how the reimbursements from MSBA should work. And it takes probably 4 years to see the full impact of the loan, because first you're just paying interest on the bands that you'd take out along construction. Right now, we have a ban for the feasibility study, and then, slowly adding to it during different phases of construction. So we can provide that information. It's just too much to put on a slide.
See, I knew I should have said construction loan instead of mortgage. It's a good thing you're here. So is there any questions? You wanna pop this up on the slide there?
Sure.
There she is. So, I think everybody knows what this is. That's the ball fields where the current school is. Then we have the 2 softball fields where the buildings are, and the junior, senior high school over to the right. And somebody actually brought it up in a meeting last night, between Route 18 and the school and the bus drop-off, there's gonna be fencing and shrubbery and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, there will be a pretty substantial fence there, to separate the traffic on 18. That's obviously a safety concern that will be addressed to make sure that there's clear separation between 18 and the bus drop-off.
Do the buses now, they now go out onto 18 anyway, right?
Yeah.
there's no change in anything there.
No, the bus route will generally stay the same, it's just more the queuing. I mean, in this picture, there's, 10 buses there, and you don't get 10 buses to Central, so there's plenty of space off of 18 now to get all the buses queued and dropped off and during pickup, that way they're not blocking traffic. Similarly with the Central coming off of Central for the bus pickup. Right now, you come in, you kind of take that hard left right into the parking lot, but now you have substantially more queuing to get traffic off of Central and kind of onto the site, to help with that traffic congestion.
So I actually do have one more question that just popped into my head. I have seen those ball fields pretty wet. We don't want the building to sink. So what
No.
remediation is being done
For drainage.
for drainage and for that moisture that's down there?
We spent, as we do with everything, but we spent a lot of time putting holes in the ground, digging test pits and putting test borings on the whole site. We're gonna go through the process that you went through with the high school, where the soil is a little bit mushy, but the soil is of a type that if you compress it, it doesn't spring back. So when you did the high school, I wasn't here, but I know what we're doing here, and I know it's the same thing. For the first 8 months, while we're finishing the precise design, there'll be a big pile of dirt on the footprint where this school is gonna go. And that's a lot of weight, and what it's gonna do is compress the ground. And when that dirt gets removed, that ground is not gonna spring back up. And what we wanted, and so instead of putting like concrete piles into the ground, this is the most cost-effective way to improve the soils and make sure we can just use very simple spread footings like you do on any typical home. Then we are raising the grade, David, and so that it'll be up higher than it is now, and there'll be all sorts of drainage, and the rain that falls is gonna be captured and sent to, underground storm drain and detention systems. So all the site conditions, whether it's the type of soil or the moisture in the soil, are all gonna be addressed. None of us want to be involved in a project that has any, believe me, any issues like that.
Okay, anybody had any questions?
One of the concerns that I have is, I know right now, a lot of people use Central Street and those bypass the elementary school to get to 18.
Oh.
Has that been eliminated? I'm trying to follow the patterns, but that is definitely a safety concern now that we're adding more playgrounds in that area.
Yep. Well, the playgrounds, yeah, on the elementary school side, they're all fenced. But, as far as the high school walking over to the athletic field, that there will be pedestrians and there will be vehicles. Sorry,
More so that cut through, though.
but
We're talking about the cut through.
Yeah.
That's not gonna exist anymore, right? That's
Well,
eliminated.
yeah, that'll be controlled somehow, whether it's electronic gates or, or whatever. The thought is the parents just continue back out past the high school to Plymouth Street, like most of them do now.
It's closed all the time now, isn't it?
And I think what she's referring to is currently, when you're at the exit for the bus traffic, back under Bedford Street. I think-
I'm sorry.
And people typically try to cut through that space to cut up to Central Street. In this design, that's eliminated. So it is entirely separated and segregated, so that bus exit, entrance exit is entirely separated from what would be the parent-student drop-off. There's physically that road that's there now goes away. Yeah, you wouldn't be familiar, it's sort of something, one of these things that happens on the weekends if the gates are open and whatnot.
That's okay.
But where he has the red dot right now, there's lawns and trees instead of timber.
Perfect.
Correct.
Obviously, like I said, with all of the playgrounds, want to really reduce the speed to make sure that there isn't room, because it looks like it's gonna be a very busy area, so just thinking, safety.
Yeah, and so we have a traffic consultant on our team, but the most important thing is we interact with the public safety folks. And DPW and everyone we can talk to, just to make sure we're not missing something.
And then one other question that I had is, let's say we do have an explosion of a lot of children coming into the area, where would there be room for expansion for, I don't wanna say another trailer per se, but something along those lines, cause it does look like it's pretty well compressed into a small area.
It does. There's some, out the back there, there's room to bring that central wing out, if that makes sense in there. And there'd be some adjustment to the receiving area, but we could put a two-story addition there that, part of the classrooms could serve the grades that are on the right side and part could be, on the left side.
But there's consideration already to handle what we see as coming into town right now, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I'm gonna apologize because I forget the exact figures, but it is sized for future enrollments. The MSBA does a real deep dive on, development in town and, how many people are being born and leaving the earth. But they have projected 510 pupils, and they're usually pretty good at it in K2. And then there is a pretty good pre-K program as well. So there's a lot of classroom space here, as well as the ability to stretch that central wing out without impacting the playgrounds, if that makes sense, out towards Route 18.
All right, if there's no further questions or discussions, I'd entertain a motion to approve this article to go before the voters at the special town meeting.
I so move.
Second? All those in favor, capital?
Aye. Oh, sorry.
Capital.
I'm
You gotta do
sorry.
capital first.
I would,
Fa-
yeah.
Aye?
Just got slapped around.
No?
Okay, so I'm just confused on the procedure that you're using here. You're taking a motion from finance, I would assume we need a motion from,
Oh, separate motion, yes, okay. But I
So if
just
you're gonna
said-
vote
did I
on
say for capital? You lawyers.
I'm sorry, I just,
You guys- Okay, so that was for the finance committee. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I'll take a motion from the capital committee now.
okay, so before I do that, just a little speech. So, I've been here for a few years, sitting on the Capitol, and this is certainly the most significant thing that I've had to consider. So I looked actually at the Capital Committee bylaw to see what I'm supposed to be considering here. So there are 4 things: need, timing, cost, and impact. And I think there's an unquestioned need. All you have to do is walk through the school as it is now and listen to the presentations that have been made, and I think that's eminently clear. I think the timing is critical, given the existing condition of the building, the difficulty that they run into in terms of costs and availability of things to do repairs. I know Brian is often fabricating things and scrounging around to undertake repairs. And I think obviously the project is only going to increase in cost as time goes on. The basic cost component, as Matt had said, I think obviously the numbers are going to continue to rise. Construction, labor, and materials are going to continue to rise. I wonder if the town doesn't take advantage of this now, whether there isn't the real possibility that the state reimbursement number drops, given the fact that, and I don't know whether anybody knows that, but given the fact that, you are going to get less federal dollars and probably to the state, and the state is probably going to pass that down to communities. So, there's the possibility that 56 point whatever it is, doesn't hold.
Yeah, it is.
We don't know that. The other thing is that concerns me, and I don't know whether anybody else here knows it, is the whole idea of the town's noncompliance with MBTA communities. Originally, there were grants and things that were supposed to be what was affected. You know, town wouldn't be eligible for this, town wouldn't be eligible for that. My understanding is that it's been interpreted much more broadly now, to say that if the town is not in compliance with the law, there are many more things that the town isn't going to be eligible to get in the way of funding. So that concerns me, that, you know, if the town continues in that direction, that, you know, that might be a consideration. And then the other thing, you know, just impact, you know, I think it's just unquestioned that it's a positive for the current and future students of the community.
You bring up a couple of good points. We've already verified with the MSBA that this MBTA thing does not impact this, right?
Yeah.
That's been verified. We have lost funding on other initiatives.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right?
Yep.
We've already
I'm well
lost
aware of that.
funding on MBTA.
Yep.
A good point that you didn't bring up, that was always, if we don't do this, you're right, with the condition of that building, we're gonna have to keep it functional, keep pouring money into it. So it's either pay me now or pay me later.
Maybe more later.
Yeah, a lot more later. So, you're right. So those are very, very good points.
And I mean, the other thing, when all of this started, I will say that I was absolutely an add-on to the building proponent. Absolutely my position. I said, you know, you've just invested money in the building over the last number of years. You know, the building's got decent bones, so redo it. And I think I've been talked out of that proposition by listening. I attended a select board meeting where this presentation was made, and just listening tonight, so.
That's the exact
That
same.
being said, I will make a motion that the capital committee recommend to town meeting the approval of Article 1, the special town meeting for November 10th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. That's exactly where I was, the ad reno, until I got on the committee
Yep.
and I
Yeah, I
saw
think it's-
what was there.
Yep.
Okay, so we will have one more capital article to go over, then we'll address the rest of the warrants, and that would be Article number 3 for the town meeting on October 27th. Want to go up, chief?
That was a wonderful presentation. I just didn't see the fire station involved in any of it.
That's a different committee.
It was cut off pretty
You
quickly.
know, yeah, but fire station's good.
It is.
So, we have not, first of all, does everybody know it? John? It's the new fire chief here. You want to just quickly introduce yourselves? Sure. George Judy?
John, you know me, Kevin Riley from the building committee.
Karen Harden?
Oh, you know her. You know me.
Karen Gilman.
Jennifer Hess?
Eric Cardoza. Peter Fioria, nice to see you again.
So Article 3 is regarding ambulance
Well,
and a
new,
fire pumper, right?
new engine.
Yeah, new engine. So, talk to us about the engine.
So currently, right now, we have 3 engines in our fleet. And the oldest engine is almost 30 years old. It's in basically, it's not in disrepair, but it's at the point right now where it's time to move on from it. The other 2 engines we have are also been dealing with a lot of repairs as well. I went through my numbers just to kind of, obviously new here in town, so went through how much money we're actually spending on repairs for our engines. And over the last 3 years, we've sunk something in the lines of $130,000 into keeping up with the repairs on this. Our youngest engine has right now the most mileage on it, and we had to actually rebuild the motor on it. So essentially, we're at a point where that third engine, the oldest engine, we're looking to replace it. I'm working on basically a maintenance schedule with members of the DPW and my fleet maintenance coordinator to try and work on a schedule of rolling over or putting our engines basically on the back burner occasionally so we can do repairs, so we can kind of extend the life of them. Realistically, 15 to 20 years is what the normal life for a fire engine is. So this has obviously exceeded that. And the fact that we're already rebuilding motors of our youngest engine, we're also showing that we're kind of a lot more wear and tear than we normally would. So that being said, I've done some research, come up with some figures which are alarming when you start looking. Not as alarming as the school project, but they're excessive. I looked at an old, again, doing my research, I looked at an old capital plan from February of 2023. The price of an engine back then was roughly estimated at $650,000. Right now, we're quoted at anywhere from, depending on what make, 1.1 to $1.5 million. So the cost is more than doubled. So that's a whole nother conversation and discussion. But that being said, I'd like to, petition the town to submit for a new engine. The other part of this, as with the school building, it's the build-out time is anywhere from 24 to 36 months for this engine. So even if we were to get funds that were appropriated now, we'd still have to wait 2 to 3 years for it to actually show up. But at this point, I think it's time that we move on from our old engine 2. That's before, well, it'll be 30 when we get rid of it, if approved. But I think it's time that we move on from it. Just as a little bit of a side note, with the rebuild of our youngest engine, that's our engine 1. Engine 3 is coming up on probably needing a new motor as well. So we're looking into down the line, maybe in 3 to 5 years, see if we can actually rebuild that engine, as opposed to having to purchase a new one. Looking at a capital strategy, I think our engine 3 is equipped, has the space and the size and the type of engine that we could kind of extend the life a little bit more. So a rebuild might be something we look at down the line. But I think to get us to that point, we got to start with a new engine to replace.
When you say
engines.
rebuild engine, you're talking about the motor itself?
That and the cabinetry, they look at the frame rails, they go through the engine from top to bottom to try and see if, what is salvageable, and there's different phases or options that you can go with, big major rebuilds. So I'm looking into the specifics on that. There's been a couple of departments that have actually done it recently with, I believe, some success. And looking at our fleet, engine 1 and engine 3, I think are candidates for that type of setup. Engine 2, the oldest engine, the one we're looking to replace, is so old and antiquated, it's not feasible. I mean, just the cabinet space alone, if you think about 30 years ago, what we were equipped with, and now the stuff that we're putting on these engines, it's not there. The space isn't there.
So what have you been told the rebuild is of those?
It can vary anywhere from like $150,000, like as a minor one, anywhere from like $300,000 to $400,000. But we'll see what happens in a couple of years and how prices have been going. So I point that out because I want to look at I'm trying to find strategies to look ahead, and it's not just a frivolous purchase of it's old, we need to replace it, but it is old and we need to replace it. But I think down the road, hopefully I can come up with an alternative solution, so we're not having to sink $1.1 to $1.5 million into replacing these engines as they come up.
So I too want to look at a strategy as far as this stuff goes, and knowing that the life's 10, 15 years is kind of optimal, right? It's, you know, to do that, and at 30, I think I was here in 96 when we bought the last engine. When we bought that one. Right here, the way it looks like it's being approached is the way it was done, something was done in the past was, we take the money out of the capital stabilization fund and you pay back.
Right, through the
Over
ambulance receipts.
3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, right? That has me concerned, okay? And just for the finance committee and capital committee to understand, we had $1.3 million in free cash. Usually we're like 2 million or something like that. And we use a lot of, been using it more so to balance the budget, operating budget than we had. We had been weaning off of it, but with the conditions the way they are, with the retirement, et cetera, we're back up there. We do have a capital stabilization fund and we have a general stabilization fund. The capital stabilization fund was set up, it was set up that if we had an emergency or an urgent need or something, we could actually, by a town meeting vote, move money out of the capital stabilization fund into the general fund to take care of any emergencies. What I don't want to do is deplete our stabilization funds while we get $200,000 or whatever the number is, put back in and slowly build up. Because if something happens in 2 years from now, we need it, we don't have it. Okay? I would propose that we really dive very deeply into the leasing program that we've started to really utilize in town. With the ambulance and fire trucks, just like we're doing with John's vehicles, et cetera, just like we're doing with the police department. Because I think with that, instead of draining stabilization funds down, we have those cash reserves for critical situations. And instead of paying back the stabilization fund, you're paying this off. And we would have to go over the numbers and sit down and review them with them. Because there's all sorts of different things where if you make your first year's payment before it comes, your payments are less, all sorts of stuff. But I'd like to be able to sit down with you and with the company to go over that being a possibility. If it was a different time and we were putting money into capital stabilization fund and we didn't have these concerns, I might be feeling differently.
Dave, is there a material difference in where the total in the capital stabilization fund is now versus when we started with the same methodology with ladder one? In other words, did we have more there?
Well, we didn't buy ladder one that way. We just used it for the ambulance the last time.
Was it? No, it was the ladder, wasn't it?
Was it the ladder for the engine? It was the ambulances.
Tower.
Oh, the tower
Yeah,
truck,
yeah, that's what I
tower
mean, yeah.
truck, tower truck.
I don't know the balance then when that was approved. That was approved right before I got here, but as of today, we're about 4.2 million, which has been pretty consistent over the last at least 4 years, I would say, in the general.
Because it was getting paid back, what, 200 or 225 a
something
year?
like
We got our last payment this past
Right,
year.
right.
To get it back up to
Correct,
there.
yes.
So
So
if
what,
we-
so I'm just wondering, if we did that 5 years ago or whatever it was, with the same amount of money in the capital stabilization fund,
Yeah. But I don't want to bring it down from 4.2 to, 3 million,
yeah. Well,
because we've got a couple of rough years coming ahead of us here.
I'm not aware of any leasing programs for engines. That would be something that I've never heard of. Vehicles, smaller, service vehicles, that I have heard of. I haven't heard of that for ambulances or engines. A lot of those are customized and made specifically for the town, so I'm
We'll check with him. If I recall correctly, that the conversation I had with him last time, we were trying to bring the police more into it to line up with what John was doing. We talked about it, and they said, yeah, we could do that. So-
okay.
so
I'll
we'll
have
check
to
it out.
find out.
We'll check it out, and it's just that it's a cash flow issue. And, I might be projecting a little bit, thinking a little bit more about down the road, like 2 years from now. I just want to be ready. I don't want to I personally don't want to deplete all the funds. But it doesn't mean we're not gonna vote on it and do it. It's just, I wanna make sure that we at least explore that as, a potential.
Yeah, that would be something I've never heard of,
Yeah.
so I'd have to look into that.
So Chief, you're saying, 2 or 3 years rather, down the road. So when would you actually have to expend money?
So, not until then. Like, we did it from the ambulance receipt account. We, in the spring town meeting, appropriated funds for an ambulance, a new ambulance that's gonna be coming in the spring. So that's kinda earmarked for it right now, but hasn't been spent. So it's not until that we take delivery on the apparatus. And just, some of the clarification, I mentioned all the costs for the repairs on the other engines. We were down what we call a red status on a couple of occasions since I've been here, which means that we had one engine available, and we weren't allowed to, if we had mutual aid requests for assistance, we wouldn't have been able to go because we wouldn't have had any coverage in town. And that's something that's of concern. We do have that one engine available, yes, but that's really not helpful when it comes to, fire safety and life safety in the area. And that's because of the repairs that we've had to do on our younger engines, and not even in consideration for the oldest one that we have. So the 3 years to me is concerning, that having to wait that long, because we have to drag our apparatus through the mud to get there. So to wait any longer for any kind of appropriations or anything like that is only gonna tack on time to that. That's,
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't appropriate it and we don't put the article before the voters. It's just I wanna look at what our options are as far as payment goes. 'Cause we
Yeah,
don't
I
wanna
can-
delay it. Okay, there you go.
I'm certainly looking at any things. We've talked about just even, service contracts and trying to find ways to, I've been working a lot with the DPW to kind of hedge that too, to make sure we're not just sending these things off and, getting gouged on everything. We have the right people working on it.
Charlie?
Chief, in terms of talking to Kevin, you mentioned we wouldn't have to expend the money immediately. So we'd be earning interest on the money no matter which fund it's in, whether it's the general fund or whether it's a stabilization fund. And we'd be moving money back into the stabilization fund during this 3-year period when we're waiting for the engine. So I don't see the point of
Would we?
doing.
That's why I didn't take that until he expended the money. Oh, you'd be appropriating it now.
So I see no reason to do a lease. Why are, we're gonna pay ourselves the interest, why are we paying somebody else the interest?
I thought we wouldn't expend it until,
3 years though.
right off the bat. No deposit down on it or anything?
No, not that I'm aware of. Like, even with the ambulance, when we did that, they start building, we obviously signed a contract to go forward with it, but, yeah.
Okay.
There is equipment that we try to outfit with it and stuff. And so kind of looking at grants and trying to maybe spend some of that money ahead of time for that, but it's not the same, not for the engine. Because obviously equipment costs go up.
In your ambulance, was that all allocated out this year in one payment?
It hasn't been paid at all, it's just been earmarked.
You have that money already set aside, right?
Yes, from the
Nothing
ambulance
from that
receipts.
Stabilization fund for that.
No, that's all from the ambulance receipt account. There was $400,000 appropriated for that at the Springtown meeting.
Okay. All right, and what do you think, have you calculated out any type of what the payment and how many years would be to get paid back that 1.2 or 1.3 million?
No, I haven't worked on that. But that's, I think, conversations that we'll end up having. Myself and Melanie, obviously, is.
Dave, wasn't the tower truck like 200,000 a pop? Am I wrong?
Whatever was like 225 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Thinking along the
Like,
same lines.
like he said, they just got an ambulance that used to cost us $200,000. what was it, 450, 440?
It was 400,000, and that was $150,000 less than the actual other company that we used to go through. Like, trying to find ways to cut corners, not cut corners, but find
Reduce costs.
reduced costs, yeah. And that was same thing with the ambulance, not to get carried away with that, but that was gonna be a 3-year wait if we had went with the other company.
company.
And then we ended up getting it for $150,000 with a little over a year wait, which is great. So, and the same thing with the engine, there's 2 companies we're working on now. One is 24 months and one is they're saying 36 months. So we're hopefully gonna try and negotiate, a better deal, and something that comes fairly quick.
A little bit off the topic, didn't they just have some hearings in Congress with regard to
With
the
the
two
Rev
companies?
Group, the
Yeah,
Rev Group,
yeah,
yep.
yeah, I saw that.
Yep, there's gonna be more to come on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's actually some local towns and there's some lawsuits, pending lawsuits that might be coming out as well on that. It's, if you start following the bouncing ball, it's, I don't know. Yeah, it's unfortunate because municipalities have to deal with this and, you know, obviously trickle down to taxpayers, and to have the prices go up so astronomically in such a short period of time and have the delays, it's,
So
It's a
how,
monopoly.
right?
so how are you situated in this plan in regards to if you get a truck and then you wanna refurbish another one in a couple of years, but you're still gonna need to replace ambulances? There's only so much revenue you take in from ambulance receipts.
Yeah, and that's conversations that I'm gonna have to have. I know, again, sitting with Melanie and kind of going over the numbers and the budgets and what we bring in for ambulance receipts and how that gets divvied out. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking at. Because I know on average, we're about 1.2 to 1.3 million that of ambulance receipts that come in on an annual basis. So looking at those numbers and just finding out how that money can and could be appropriated, that's what I have to look at. Again, in developing a 5-year capital plan.
I thought it was a little more than that.
That was about average from the last, I did, what did we do, 20 we didn't do 2020, but.
Yeah, because that was,
23, 24, I think what you said was about the average.
yeah. So, yeah, so those are that, you know, obviously just looking at numbers now, and trying to figure out a capital strategy. And the refurb is an idea that may work, you know, to try and create a little bit of a bridge that we're not paying or looking to spend another, it might be $2 million by then, you know.
I had a question about the refurbished option. So if we went that, how long does a typical rebuild, refit of a truck take?
So what I've been told, it's about a year. But I'm just, my focus has been on the new engine and trying to spec that out. But I'm starting to, you know, have conversations with towns that have looked at it, so.
But if that was the option that we went with, we would have one truck out of service for over a year possibly while it was being refitted?
Yeah, you'd have, well, no. We'd have to try and find alternative solutions. Sometimes, and this isn't something you want to do, but you can borrow trucks from other towns.
So I was just gonna ask about that because I touched upon that last night with regards to the emergency kind of opportunity that we're looking at with the school committee.
Yeah.
Are other towns, so like, do they have similar situations where they have trucks going out of service? And
Yeah.
so, again, like, I feel like Plymouth County needs to do a fairly better job with providing the local municipality services, so that way we're not all in the same bad spot all at once. So maybe we replace one in a year or two, or if it takes 3 years to build it, but the next town over, they're laying their need in accordingly as well. I know it's far more complicated because we have a hard enough time getting our arms around our own stuff, but where is Plymouth County in all of this?
That's a great question.
I mean, shared services from, we're putting ourselves in a spot by trying to help out another community, but we can't. And what's to say that other community's not gonna be in that same situation and they're not gonna be able to respond to us? So,
Yeah, I mean, there is communication with the chiefs when, things are in need. So when we went red on those couple of occasions, that notification goes out, and I got calls from area chiefs. What's going on? Everything all right? What do you need? And we kind of all help each other out.
Right.
I think what you're talking about is more on the regionalization of the whole fire service, and it kind of drifts into that a little bit.
no, it's more of understanding we're all in a tough spot and how we work together to solve these problems
Sure.
together.
Yeah, and I think that's what the Rev Group and what
Yeah.
they're trying to put a hold on that. I mean, an engine that, doubled in price in 3 years, that's the problem.
Sure.
It's not necessarily, a Plymouth County's problem, but we do meet regularly, and there are conversations happening with area chiefs, and we do try to work together on this, but we're all kind of in the same boat,
That's kind of my point. So we're all in the same bad spot. So we need something to help us collectively, because we could be doing it and then 2 other towns do the exact same thing that you're asking to do.
Right.
And then,
So you're talking about something like the opposite of musical chairs. Like right now, if you collect all of the fire departments of, around, surrounding us, we're playing without one chair. Like, might be 3 over there, 2 over here, 3 over here. If you had just one more that could cycle wherever it's needed to cover outages where a truck is being renovated or
repaired or out of
or whatever,
service.
that would ease the
Pain.
whole situation.
Sure.
So, if you need 3 trucks per town, have 1 extra on 12 trucks, you have 13 trucks. And that could be
Yeah, and-
slotted in.
On a short-term basis, that's kind of what happens if there's a need. On a long-term basis, now, the refurbing of an engine, I haven't looked, that, it hasn't been my priority. So I gotta look a little bit further into that and how that would be handled. But yeah,
I guess I think all I'm trying to say is, or on the school committee side, we're being forced to try to be creative. We've reduced busing. So we took a bus out of service, and we found out that we're able to get by and still provide the service. So I think whether it's our own community and how we need to take a look at things, I also think we need to take a look at that in a little bit bigger of a regional setting, is all I'm trying to say.
that's a longer conversation.
I agree.
Because that comes
I
into
agree, but I do
staffing, and
think,
that comes into-
but I do think the challenge is ahead of us, at least from what we've been told over the past year and a half with regards to Plymouth County Retirement Association. It's a Plymouth County thing.
I mean, I think
But
if you want, a county government to step in and help you, I think you need to move down south. Yep. Because,
There's no money in the county.
right, I mean,
There's
there's no level of county government that's gonna do that, although it would be a great model. You're absolutely right, but.
Yeah, that's the regionalization.
And that's where I think we've got to get outside of our box and start to work
you gotta-
together with other
absolutely gotta think.
communities to kind of,
Right.
not only we have to put our plan into place, but our plan has to be somewhat in step with a couple of the other communities around us.
Yeah, county government is very interesting up here. So when I was in the service and I was down south, and it was county government, it was different. And when I had it to compare to here, it was a different world. I wouldn't be surprised, I know they have emergency response teams, the emergency preparedness group and stuff. Maybe there should be a loaner engine there or something, who knows, but. County Commissioner, next year, go ahead, go for it. All right, then. Thanks to Charlie's input, that was a lot more clarification, made a lot more sense to me. So I will entertain a motion from either board.
So for capital, I'll make the motion that, the positive recommendation on Article 3 the special town meeting warrant for October 27th.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that concludes our capital meeting for the evening.
Move to adjourn.
All those in
Second.
favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, you're the co-chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
So we don't vote on that one.
Oh, yeah, we are gonna vote on it.
Oh, okay.
We just canceled that meeting.
Thank you.
They did such good work on this.
Okay, shouldn't have left, shouldn't have left. Yep. Nope,
What are you two whispering?
nothing. I'll take a motion on Article 3 from the Finance Committee. I'll make a motion that we approve Article 3
I'll second
as
your-
written. Is there a second?
I second your motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, Article 4. Fire Department. Once again, I want to reiterate that we have, what do we still have, 1.3 or 1.2 million in free cash?
1.3, we haven't used any, so,
But we have some already slotted for some articles.
yeah, I don't have,
8,000, 26, 35,000.
We need a spreadsheet.
Yeah, so I was just thinking.
12,000. Spent about 50,000, 60,000 we've approved so far. Okay, so Article 4, see if the town will vote to transfer from account 100359359 free cash the sum of $10,869 to account 120520570 Fire Department other charges and expenses for the purpose of organization, supplies, labor, and installation of shelving associated with document management in an archival room in the fire department, or take any other action thereto. Does anybody have any thoughts?
Well, what is it for?
Okay, upstairs, they have a storage room. They've cleaned out quite a bit of space upstairs. There's another storage room that's locked off that they'd like to organize and put shelving, et cetera, in there. Let's get a, clean it up. And, well, that's what they'd like to do, okay? Personal opinion, we're very early into the year for the fiscal year. And knowing how much we depend on free cash and what we're looking towards next year, I would ask that departments making such requests like this all try to find it within their operating budget. And if it's not possible, that we address it further down the road when we know where we're sitting better financially. That's just my opinion and my thought. Knowing, well, new members may not be as familiar as some of the other members, that we use a significant amount of free cash in order to balance the budget. And I really like to watch that this year, because if we don't really get control over it this year, it's gonna get significantly worse in years to come, until this Plymouth County retirement thing is done.
What, 3 more years?
Was that 4 more years, right? 6?
6 more years?
Does it just keep increasing?
they
That's what-
increased it from 28 to 2031 at some point last year. Doing that, coupled with, the insurance rates right now, the rate that they're increasing is really affecting us.
So, that's my personal feelings. Anybody, any other conversation, questions?
Aren't most things digitalized now instead of keeping paper documents?
They're not
Just-
right now.
Yes.
So some of these funds
But
could
they
be
could.
used towards digitizing documents possibly, but
I
we
don't
don't really
think
know for
that's the
sure.
plan right now.
Yeah,
It's just to put them on a shelf, put them there, and organize them so they know that they've had somebody already come in out of their prior budget. They came in and they took it and said, okay, you've had this for 10 years, you only need to keep it for 7, you can throw these out. You can throw this out, you can throw this out. So it's just kind of like your income tax thing after 7 years. Some things you have to keep 3 years, whatever, so they just want somebody to get that organized for them.
So this is paying for a consultant to come in and do
A
that?
company to come in and do it, yeah. Which helped them already once to get it to the point where it's at.
But maybe we can say, not now. It's not no, but it's not now.
It's not necessary, and they can try to find it within their operating
Sure.
budgets.
And then we'll
Because they found it
revisit it.
before in their operating
Yeah,
budgets.
I think that's a good
You
idea.
know, so with that, I would take a motion to approve or not approve Article 4.
I would make a motion not to approve right now,
To try to
see if-
utilize their
to
operating
see if they
budget.
can use, right, to see if they can find the funds within their existing budget, and that we'll revisit it
Yep,
later on in
If
the fiscal
necessary.
year, if necessary. I make that motion.
that's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There you go, new people can second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Article 5, see if the town will vote to authorize on the Mass General Law, Chapter, to enter into a contract for EMS administrative services. We don't really have to vote on that.
Money.
There's no money involved right now. I did have some questions, and maybe you know, because I saw that they wrote off $31,000 for last quarter.
I don't know too much about that. I know that happens every quarter.
Right.
That's standard. I don't have any more information than that.
So that was like $120,000 a year. And I was just wondering, did they stay with the same company?
Well, they've been with the same company, they've not chosen, based on the bids, or the proposals that come in. I know that John's not made a choice between the two companies that did send in proposals last month. We went out to bid last month.
Do you know anything about those bids that have come in yet?
Well, tell me what you mean by,
Well, what I'm looking at is, I was very curious, if we're writing off $120,000 a year, what are our guidelines for when do we write off? And is there any improvement in that or recommendations?
I apologize for saying this, I wish the chief was here. If you were gonna, since he has several articles here tonight, it would have been better to have him here and answer those questions.
That's what I asked him in the email, to be here for the meeting.
Okay, well, I don't know that he felt,
All right. So,
but, I mean, I'm sure there are standards, I will find out what those standards are. I know when I was working next door, it was very commonplace for us to be writing off ambulance charges, even on a monthly basis, let alone a quarterly basis. So we never collect everything that gets billed for any number of different reasons.
right. I realize that. I've done collections, I've run the ambulance service at a couple of hospitals, and I understand how it works. I just want to understand, is it we're just collecting the easy stuff and not going after the other stuff, or, that type of stuff? Because I'm familiar with some of the local companies that do that. So we don't have to really vote on that one. Article 6. Okay, see if the town will vote to transfer from account number 103593590 free cash the sum of $7,500 to account number 12011745132 Assessment Center to fund the promotional assessment center written exam for the ranks of deputy and lieutenant in the FY26 year for the fire department, and take any other action thereto.
This wasn't part of their normal budget?
It would be coming out of their education budget, but they're asking for this. There's Article 6, and we also have very similar in 7, which I had a
That's the police, right?
I had a total discussion with them, so I think, I can tell you that the police department is looking for this money because they have a sergeant retiring this year. So they need to develop a list for promotions. They have nobody on a list right now. Then they have 4 retirements coming altogether over the next few years. So they want to create a list. And worst-case scenario, I am told that this number is, well, this is for the police, let's not the fire. And I believe it's the same concept, that they figured on that particular one that they would, if everybody took the test, this is what that would cost them. But they don't expect everybody to take the test. And it might only be 3 people, it might be 5 people, it might be 11 people. So this is a number would be a maximum they think they would have to expend. They have 1 retirement right now coming up. But, once again, my personal feelings are that Article 6 and Article 7 should be something that tried to get born out of their existing operating budget. And if something becomes much more concrete, like 5 people are gonna take it, or 3 people are gonna take it, then we address it at that point in time.
And Article 8, because Article 8 and Article 6 seem more,
Yep, same thing.
yeah.
Oh, no, 7 is the
7 is
retirement buyout,
retirement.
which we have to do. It was actually 6 and 8, sorry, thank you for showing. So,
So the same kind of
6 and 8.
idea as 4 that we just talked about?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my thought, but, so let's just go down in order here, so we don't get any more confused, I got ahead of myself. Article 6, transfer the funds $7,500, the assessment center to fund the promotional assessments exam for the deputy and lieutenant in the FY '26 year for the fire department. We can make a motion to approve or not approve, and go with the same theory we want on 4 to see if we can absorb it in the operating budget, since we're so early into the year. And if not,
Is there any discussion? I would make
we're
that
open for
motion if.
there's
if-
discussion. If anybody, questions, anybody, or thoughts?
My only thought would be, can they ask in advance who is planning on taking the test, so that they have an
But even
accurate
if they
number?
do, if they spend the money out of their operating budget, and they run short on that particular line,
Then-
they could come back to us.
Yeah, that's what I think too. To do it in advance just
This is
presupposes
only
that.
like 3 or 4 months into the year, so.
Yeah, so we're saying they can take the money from the operating budget that they currently have, and then if and when they run short, then they can come back to the table and ask for
Yeah.
the shortage.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It could possibly be a
And it
reserve
might
fund
not-
transfer, it could be multiple things.
And it might not happen because they can transfer things within their own budget. They would have to
because
bring
we
it up.
start allocating that now, then any one of these pre or early allocations, then it looks like we don't have that money for someone else who might actually need
Oh,
it.
we won't have it. If
We
we
won't
have
allocate
it,
it now
yeah.
and it passes, we won't have it
Right.
for the operating budget.
Okay,
And if they don't spend it, does it have to get put back? Like if it's
Unless
allocated,
they
but they
encumber it
don't-
to spend it next year, or whatever. If it gets identified as free cash, it would come back, if they were done with the process. But, once again, it just takes it away from us,
Right.
addressing the current needs going forward. So are you making a motion?
I am making a motion.
What's
I
the
would
mo-
like them to absorb it using the existing budget and address any shortfall in a future time, not now.
So your motion is to not approve the article?
Correct, not approve the article.
Is there a second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 7 is a retirement buyout for patrol officer retiring in FY '26. I would make a motion that we approve that article as printed.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Article 8. Free cash, $18,860, and that's the Promotional Assessment Center for ranks of sergeant and lieutenant in the FY '26 budget. Same concept as 6 and 4.
Yep.
Just a different number.
Yep, and I don't think we can pick and choose what we're gonna say yes to and what we're gonna say no to.
Right. I think it's very important that people,
So I would say that, I mean, in this case, when they're so parallel,
Right.
I would say take it,
work on operating, and we
Yep.
address it if
Use
it's
it
needed
from
later
your
on. Let it
existing
become a
budget.
reality before it's speculation.
yeah. I make that motion, the same motion as 6, the same motion as 4. Do I have to
So
actually-
motion not approved.
Not approve.
Okay.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Next one is Article 10. Okay, that's the Animal Control Officer. We know they did not have a contract. They were negotiating it coming into this year.
I have a personal experience with this.
Well,
Just like a month ago, I kind of blew up at them a little bit.
Oh.
Well, there was a dead skunk in front of my house in the middle of the street. I said, can somebody come down? Because if somebody runs over it,
it's gonna stink.
you're talking about a much more disgusting cleanup. But if you can come now, all it is like dead.
Did you go get it?
But nobody came for
Why didn't
a
you go
day and a
get it?
half.
Yeah, you can call me next time. I'll just come move it out of the way for you. Save everybody a couple bucks.
Okay,
The
all
animals
right.
don't smell.
So this is a contract they've signed to get an animal control, to work with the animal control officer.
I say approve this.
So you're making a motion?
No, I'm just,
Well, somebody has to make a motion.
well, we haven't had any discussion, only hearing
Is there
my
any
little
discussion?
story.
The discussion is the facts that I know, it's contractual. They went out to get a new contract this year, and this is the increase that they have.
Because they can't get anybody for the price that they,
Well, I don't know why, but
It's
I
a-
mean, the cost went up. Do you folks have any more detail on that? Just that that's what the bidding came back at.
This
They
was the
tried-
end of the first 3-year contract.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve Article 10.
All right, I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
I
Aye. We're gonna all have a talk later. Okay, and that was it.
Okay.
All right, I have a motion. 3 motions.
You have 3 motions? Oh,
Meeting minutes. 4 motions.
she's not gonna let us get away with it this time without approving the minutes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, my first motion is to approve the meeting minutes from June 23rd. The only people that were attending that meeting were Dave, myself, George, and Karen, so we're the only ones that should be
We
able
can
to vote
vote.
on those.
Okay.
Okay,
I
I'll
read
second
them. They
that.
were nice minutes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's a model for you to start to follow.
Okay. I also make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 14th, and myself, Eddie, Eric, Eddie's not here, and Jen were in attendance, so there's 3 of us here today. No, 4, 1, 2,
No, 3.
3.
Yeah.
So that's, I make the motion. Someone want a second?
I'll second the motion.
Can't.
You can't? You need to have,
You have to have 4.
what if there's, okay, so all 4 people that attended?
Well, in that case, it would have to be all 4. If everybody was there, then you'd only need 4 out of the 7.
Okay. And then, so that one, then I guess, doesn't go?
We'll do that at the next meeting.
Okay.
We'll make sure that Karen brings it up.
And, yes, I like that. And I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was September 30th, and everyone but Eric was there.
Right. I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, we will take a motion to adjourn.
No,
No? You said three, that was three.
I
No,
have
she
to make a
changed it to
motion
4.
to nominate,
You have to be recognized by the chair for this.
can I be recognized?
I don't know you.
And the nominee has to recognize you too, and I'm not sure I do.
All right, what would you like to discuss? We have
I
the
would like-
reorganization?
Yes, I suppose that's.
Reorganization. So we really should be looking at this time, chair, co-chair, and clerk. I'll open nominations.
For all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I nominate Dave for all 3 positions.
That really streamlines things.
No arguments. Yeah. But seriously,
For chair.
For chair?
Dave.
Okay.
I second that nomination.
Any other nominations?
Chair.
Seeing none.
All in favor?
Seeing none. We take a vote. All those in favor?
I nominate Karen
We will need a co-chair.
for co-chair.
I'll second that.
Everybody in favor?
Wait, any discussion? Any other nominations?
Great choice.
I'm messing it
All
up.
right, all those in favor? Aye. Clerk,
I'm volunteering because I
she's
don't want to be
volunteering.
nominated.
So I
by
nominate
anybody.
Karen Gilman to be the new clerk.
I'll second that.
All right, all that in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay.
Now, I'll take a
Congratulations.
motion to adjourn.
I make said motion.
Second, all those in favor?
Wait, what?
Aye, we're adjourning.
Oh.
It's gonna be a hell.